Why, hello there. Welcome to 2021. Here I am on about 7 weeks into 2021. I'm saying hi to you for the first time. Forgive me. This channel is very political in nature. I do go into pop culture occasionally, but most of the content is political. Last year, as soon as COVID hit, we were right smack dab at the height of county convention season here in North Carolina. County conventions among the Republican Party, and of course the Democrats also do their thing, but I'm a Republican. So COVID hit right there. I think I got to about half of the conventions I wanted to get to before this whole thing crashed right in the middle of March. And then, of course, all the district conventions were virtual. The state convention was virtual. I did a few videos of the state convention leading up to the state convention. But the state convention itself was very boring. I decided not to do a video on the proceedings of the convention like I normally do, just because it was so boring. A lot of candidate speeches, a lot of candidates repeating other candidates, blah, blah, blah. It was a very light on business event. What I like are conventions that are heavy on business, and those are a lot more interesting to cover than a candidate saying, I want to lower your taxes. Then that candidate says, I want to lower your taxes. And then the next candidate says, I want to lower your taxes, and on and on. And again, it gets pretty boring for this channel. So, what has happened in the last few months? Obviously in November we had a big election. I'm not going to really go into the national stuff, because there's hundreds, if not thousands, of sources where you can get the national stuff. But I will talk more about here locally, here in the Greensboro, North Carolina area. The Republican Party did pretty poor locally. We lost 3 seats on the county commission. So we went from a 5-4 Republican majority to now a 7-2 Democrat majority. Okay. The one positive locally was that a proposal to increase the sales tax rate by 0.25%, by 0.25 cent, failed. However, the school bond proposal did pass. I actually voted against both the tax increase and the bonds, because the thing about the bonds, especially for schools here in Guilford County, next week or the week after, they are just now going to open the schools back up. And you have to wonder, with the COVID still going on, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like, did you ever watch Lamb Chops Play Along back in the 90s? It's like the song that never ends. Well, that applies to, this is the virus that never ends, right? It just goes on and on and on. But with technology, virtual learning, my thinking on the school bond was it really necessary to have these bonds issued? And then with the bond, eventually, guess who it comes back to pay for it? But me, you, Joe and Judy living on the corner. Everybody comes back to your taxes eventually. You're going to have to pay for it through those tax dollars. Okay. Statewide, we did pretty well. We gained 4 seats in the state House legislature. Kept all our seats in the state Senate. We picked up 8 seats in the state judicial branch. Very good. Kept all our council of state seats. That's your lieutenant governor, your agriculture commissioner, secretary of education, secretary of labor, and I think I might be missing one there, but yeah, we kept all those seats. We also reelected Tom Tillis to the U.S. Senate. This state also went for Donald Trump by 75,000 votes. That was a lot closer than I thought it would be. I thought he would win North Carolina by at least 500,000 votes, or about 6 to 8% margin of victory, I thought, but no, it was very close. Republicans must do better in the cities. Gotta do better in the cities. The suburbs are really what's holding North Carolina together as still a red state, or maybe not necessarily a red state, but a purple state that leans red. The glue that's holding North Carolina together as a red state is the suburbs. Most suburban counties in North Carolina still are going to the Republicans by at least 20 points. Most suburban counties. That's the big difference between this state, the reason why this state went to Trump, and a big reason why Georgia went to Joe Biden, because the Atlanta suburbs are just going from, 8 years ago they were light red. Now they're going to light blue to almost a very medium blue now, unfortunately. Of course, the big loss was, unfortunately, people reelected Roy Cooper. Why? Why would majority of people in the state do that? Especially when you consider I work at a grocery store, and we just had an ice storm a couple days ago. Okay, so on Thursday we had the ice storm, but the day before, everybody in the county, it seemed like everybody and their first, second, third, fourth, fifth cousin was at my grocery store. The place was packed. And yet, people reelected Roy Cooper, the great obstructionist. And now he's going around saying that he might veto this bill to reopen the schools, even though there was a lot of Democrats that joined Republicans in voting for this school reopening bill. So he's a commie. He's a commie creep. So now, 2021. Well, where are we? I just got back this morning from the Precinct Meeting of the Guilford County, that's Greensboro, Guilford County Republican Party. And I gotta tell you, I was blown away. I was super impressed by how many people turned out for this meeting. Okay. If you're new to this channel, you should know that the political process, the inter-party process in North Carolina, starts every year with a precinct meeting. The Republicans do it, the Democrats do it, and maybe the Libertarians and Greens even do it too. Who knows? But definitely, at least the Republicans and the Democrats, each county has a precinct meeting, and you elect your precinct chairs, and you elect your delegates to go to the county, district, and state conventions. Okay. A question was asked this morning: how many people in the gym that we were at, because COVID-19 protocols were most definitely followed. Yes, they were. Okay. We're in this large gym. Everybody was spread out, behaving themselves and everything. The chairman, David Gleason, asked how many people was this their first ever precinct meeting. And at least 40%, maybe even half the room, hands went up. So that's very encouraging. This year, 2021, we have our municipal elections here in Greensboro. That's going to be fun. Most cities and towns, you have your municipal elections on odd number years. Every 2 years in the odd numbers. But in Greensboro, it's a little bit different because starting in 2017, the city council, and I hated that they did this, hated it. They decided to give themselves 4-year terms. So now they're on the ballot every 4 years in odd numbers. So in other words, 2017 and then 2021 this year, 2025. I hope they go back to 2-year terms. Because guess what? The politics close to the people, the U.S. House of Representatives, your congressman, is up for re-election every 2 years. And even more important than the U.S. House of Representatives is your own town or city that you live in, and who in the world these people are that run your municipality. They need to be up for re-election every 2 years. They gotta be. It's an absolute travesty that they get 4 years. It's just crazy. But right now we have zero Republicans serving in the Greensboro City Council. Travesty. So go to this precinct meeting, and it was at Charity Baptist Church on Battleground Avenue. Which is the main road that goes northwest from downtown out to the northwest suburbs of Greensboro over towards Summerfield. And Battleground, trying to turn right onto Battleground from Hamburg Mill Road at like 9 o'clock in the morning was pretty tough. Traffic just kept on going. 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. You would think there'd be that many people out, but it's sunny outside. We haven't had much sun this winter, so everybody's out. Everybody's out early on a Saturday. And then, of course, leaving Charity Baptist Church, there's a hill that you have to look over, and traffic was just coming. It's crazy traffic there on Battleground. Hopefully next year they'll move it back to the GTCC down Jamestown. That venue has a lot more parking, a lot more seating capacity, and you don't have to make a congested right turn because the infrastructure around that area is very overbuilt for the population, I will say, which overbuilt being a good thing. Yeah, underbuilt would mean that it'd be congested. So precinct meetings are in the books. I actually now have a vice chair in my precinct, so it means I really need to work my butt off over these next 2 years, because if not, my vice chair will be gunning for my job in 2023 if I'm not careful, right? So conventions this year, county conventions this year. No, excuse me. Let me go back to one more thing. The big thing, a little bit of controversy in the state party right now, is that wait. Let me talk more about the precinct meeting, okay? I'm trying to reboot myself back into county party activities. Of course, what happened was COVID hit back in March. The conventions, the remainder of the county conventions went virtual. District convention went virtual. Then you have the county party meetings that they'll be January, February. You'll take a break for the convention season, March and April, but then they'll start right back up in May. Well, throughout the summer, all the meetings were virtual, and I think I only attended like one meeting virtual, like because COVID, it was really, I mean, just dampened everyone's enthusiasm, including yours truly. Like, you know, everything was shut down. Oh my gosh, you better wear a mask everywhere you go, or you'll be put in jail, and all this BS. And even though the virus is like, there's a 99.2% chance you're not going to get the virus, you still got to wear a mask everywhere you go, blah, 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 you know, COVID. But yeah, our county party meetings started back up, I believe it was right before the election, September, October, but still, you know, my enthusiasm's kind of down, but then, of course, now with it being convention season, now my enthusiasm is going back up, and I'll be able to start putting the county GOP meetings back on my calendar, and I need to make sure that I request off from work so I can go to these meetings and I cover them for you, the viewer. Another thing at the county at the precinct meeting this morning that I thought was really awesome was Mark Robinson was there. The Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson. And what is so cool about Mark Robinson as a person that I really respect is that he, look, there are so many people, right, who get elected into higher office, right? And when they're running for the office, you see them at every single county party meeting. But as soon as they get elected, they disappear. And then you either never see them again, or you don't see them again until they are voted out of office or retired or whatever. But Mark Robinson's different. Mark Robinson was at the precinct meeting this morning, and he has said that he wants to know what the schedule of the county party meetings are. Okay, so he still wants to attend the local county GOP meetings. I think that's a great thing, because there are, unfortunately, some council of state officers who live in the Greensboro area who have never, and I mean never attend any county meeting, or not even a county or district convention. It's very sad. Like, well, I'm not going to name this particular person, but I think he does something in the farming sector. One of those things, to give you a hint. Okay. So, precinct meeting, we talked about that. What else did we? Richard Burr. Senator Richard Burr. Voted guilty on impeachment of former President Donald Trump. That got him in some pretty hot water, thankfully. The Central Committee of the North Carolina Republican Party voted unanimously to censure him. Basically, it just means, you know, it's like one of those, it's basically one of those things that says, Richard Burr, you're a bad person, how dare you, one of those little statements of rebuke, negativity, whatever, kind of thing. Doesn't really, it's more of a, it doesn't really do much, but it's good to put it out there. Just shows people that, hey, we need to hold elected officials accountable. And when you're a Republican and you go against another Republican, yes, you should be held accountable, and you should be in some way punished for that. You know, just a statement that says you did a bad thing. Okay. Now, Richard Burr has really, in the over decade now that I've been involved with the North Carolina politics, Burr has not been a has been a very good Republican. If you remember back in 2013, the whole defund Obamacare fight, well, Richard Burr says defunding Obamacare is the stupidest, dumbest thing I've ever heard of, right? That got him in some hot water. Back then, it was not a statewide vote. It was just a letter of rebuke or censure that I myself voted in favor of, and it was actually done by my buddy Jay Vicks, who is now retired from the political scene for various reasons I'm not going to go into because they're personal. But Jay Vicks had a letter of rebuke for Richard Burr back then, and he presented it to the District 7 Executive Committee, which was down in the Wilmington area. Unfortunately, it failed to pass. There were seven of us who voted for the letter of censure, and 11 people did not vote for the censure. And then I think there were a few people who just didn't vote either way. But this time, though, the Central Committee voted. All 35 people in the Central Committee voted in favor of censuring Richard Burr, which is a good thing, in my opinion. The only problem is that if you look in the plan of organization for how the NCGOP runs itself, and hats tip to Jim Womack, our buddy down in Lee County, for pointing this out. What should have happened was the executive committee, which, disclosure alert, I am a member of, along with about 500, 600 activists across the state of North Carolina, are also a member of this committee. The first thing that should have happened was the executive committee should have voted on the censure. And then it should have gone, it probably would have passed, I think it would have passed, and then it would have gone to the Central Committee, and they would have put their final seal stamp of approval on the censure. That's how it should have been, but it did not. Jim Womack brought this to everybody's attention on Facebook. I'm glad he did, and hopefully in the coming months, as we go through the convention season, and especially this June at the executive committee meeting, this will be brought up, and this will be able to be corrected in the proper manner. So, getting back to Guilford County, there are a couple people who we lost, or I should lost our buddy Troy Lawson. Was in for heart surgery, and it did not go well. He passed away. Some complications from that. He actually was the county chairman when I came to Guilford County back in the summer of 2018. He ran for state legislature seat that same year. Lost, unfortunately. It was a very tough district. He lost like 70-30. Very tough district to win for a Republican. But then in 2020, he ran in a Republican leaning district. He ran for a seat on the county commission. Okay. And unfortunately, he lost, but it was a very close loss. It was like a 300 vote margin to the Democrat Carly Cook. And then, a couple months after that, so he passed away, I believe it was like sometime right before Christmas. Then a couple weeks after that, we lost Paul Daniels, who was our third vice chair, and he was in charge of Precinct organization. Lost him to COVID, unfortunately. And also, but part of his responsibility was also putting on the annual Precinct Meeting. Fortunately, though, Diane Dougherty, Diane Daltrey, I believe is the last name. She stepped up on short notice and ran a very good, very well organized event, I will say. And this is one of the shortest precinct meetings I've been to. I was in and out there in an hour. So kudos to Diane, Miss Diane, for stepping up to the plate on that. So now, let's talk about the convention season coming up. This year is going to be scaled back. Last year scaled back, of course, because of COVID. This year is kind of going to be the same thing. Some counties are going to go virtual, and with a virtual convention, they almost always limit access to just the Republicans in that particular county. In-person conventions, there are still going to be counties that are going to have in-person events. Of course, they're going to follow CDC guidelines because the COVID thing's still going on. Social distancing, masks required, and that whole sort of thing. But still, I'm not going to be able to go to as many conventions as I did even, especially 2 years ago or even last year, because I am working on my college degree. Lord willing, hoping to be done by the end of 2021 with this. But again, I might be able to go to a couple. Obviously, I'm going to go to my county convention. That's very important. But the other conventions are going to be probably might go to a couple others, but don't expect me to go to every day. Don't expect me to go to 20 or 30 conventions. That's not going to work with me now working 40 hours a week. Thankfully, on that, good problem to have. And also being a full-time student, it is very difficult to cover as many conventions as I want to, but I'm still going to try to do what I can for that. But the Guilford County Convention is on 2 weeks from today, Saturday, March 6th. And then the districts, I believe, is on the Thursday night, April 22nd, I believe. The big kahuna is the state convention. That's going to be held the first weekend in June. Now, here's the question, though. Is this going to be like last year where we're going to have a virtual convention, or are we actually going to be able to have an in-person event? If I had to bet, not really betting or gambling, man, but if I had to make a wager, I'd probably wager pretty heavily that it's going to be another virtual convention this summer. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's in person, but I would say it's about a 90% chance that it's going to be virtual again. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. But the thing about these conventions is really there's not a whole lot of buzz this year. Usually in past years there's a lot of buzz because in the odd number years you always have officer elections. I have not heard whether or not David Gleason will run again for Guilford County, the chairmanship for Guilford County. I have not heard anything about that. Have not heard anything about districts, officers, and have not heard anything about the chairman's race, or if there is even going to be a chairman's race. Have no idea. But I know that I still plan on, hope to still reclaim my seat. Well, I have a seat right now in the state executive, but want to be reelected to that office, hopefully. But anyway, this year, hopefully, things will start to get back to normal. Hopefully, we'll have some couple conventions to cover. The state convention, maybe we'll be able to cover that like we did in 2019. Maybe, right? But honestly, if if I had to make a guess to when things are going to get back to normal in our society, I would probably say that September. I think by September things will be back to normal. I think the vaccine will be, everybody who wants the vaccine will be able to get a vaccine. The majority of the country will be vaccinated if they choose, and that we definitely should have herd immunity by late summer. There's even a friend of mine posted something from Wall Street Journal. I haven't read the article yet, but it was an opinion piece that said by April would have herd immunity. I think that's a little bit ambitious, but we'll see. But best case scenario, I think September. Worst case scenario, I think things will be back to normal by January, February of next year. But hopefully next year, 2022, will be the best convention season that I'll ever cover. Because, one, I'll be done with my college degree, so I'll have a job that pays me more money, more income to go to more conventions, and I'll be able to take, I'll have every weekend off to go wherever in the state I want to go to, kind of thing, right? So anyway, that's all I got to say for now. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this video. I know I've needed to do an update video, and here it is. For the Conservative Pelican, I'm Bobby Crawford. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.